Baseline.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you all. Here we are again. It's Wednesday, noon,
Baseline.
and we are on the baseline. I'm John Wolpert, and I'm the chair of the TSC for the Technical Steering Committee for the Baseline Protocol Standards team at our organization. And here we have our friends and family from the baseline community. Got Nick, got Bob, got Mark, got Boris, got Dhruv, got Bishwashri, got Ryan and Mohan. It's good to see you all. And it looks like more people are coming in. There's Jeff Garvin coming. It's been a great week for baselining. Lots of stuff going on. Some things that I wish I could say more about, but they're still cooking. So as always, this is our sort of official office hours. I should very quickly, speaking of which, Slack the community about that. Just give me 1 second. Copy. And so if for those who are tuning in, don't know about Baseline too much, go to baseline-protocol.org and you'll find all the links to the goodness of baselining and what it is, what it isn't. Docs.baseline-protocol.org is where all of our documentation is. And then every week we have this public forum for anybody that needs help with getting involved, with working with the protocol, with helping on the standards team, or with implementation details with the actual code. So with that, hi Bishwashri. I'd like to I'll say it's great to have the folks from India on the call, and I hear that we might be putting up a baseline chapter in India with a baseline show of its own at a time that actually works for India.
Hi, John. Yeah, I saw the messages with Samrat, so I will connect with him and see if I can help out in any way.
Right on. Well, it'd be great if you guys can work together. It'd be super. And there's some really great Indian companies that are now getting involved, so you should be able to get some notable names and participation from their employees as well. That's how, when I go on YouTube sometimes and I look up things like SAP or other ERP systems or EDI, and it's always an Indian firm, explaining stuff. It's so Indian solutions firms have been leaders in the field in general. Jack, I'm sure you'd agree. So it's only right and natural that the baseline protocol stack start getting leadership from that part of the world. So it's good to have you guys.
Yeah, and I'll just say that Samrat and our team are working together on a couple of other kind of side projects that involve implementing baseline. So it's the India thing is on fire.
Yeah. I hope, by the way, I hope everything is well with all of our friends and family in India. I know it's a tough time for you guys still. Vishwashri, how are things going over there?
Things are slowly getting better in the cities, but it's still, the situation is very dire in the remote parts of India. So we are trying to get people vaccinated as quickly as we can, but still there is shortage of vaccines, so it's not the best of situation as yet.
Well, we'll be thinking of you, and please stay safe, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, you know what else, Bishwashri? You're working on for those of it who are tuning in and don't know, we have a very generous grant from the Ethereum Foundation of $100,000 US that is devoted to folks who want to contribute to the research and development around the standard, as well as enablement materials and help on documentation, all those kinds of things. All you have to do is go to baseline-protocol.org and follow the prompts in the main link there and right there above the mast. And you should be able to propose a grant or propose what we call a bounty, which is something where if you don't want to do it, but you want something done, you can say, well, bounty it, and then people can compete to win that bounty. There's 1 or 2 bounties already up in there, and we'll probably be putting those out through Gitcoin and funding them. Typical grant or bounty can be anything below $10,000, although for very, very special projects, we can go above that. And so, yeah, anybody that's tuning in that wants to get in on that action, please go to the site or get on our Slack. Tell us about the project you want to do, and get the process going. Bishwashri, in fact, has done that. How would you like to report in on how things are going with your grant project?
Yeah. So currently I'm working with Kyle and trying to like understand how the protocol messages are sent in the baseline. And I have also started designing the Excel add-in. So that's the first part that I'm currently working on.
Oh yeah,
And
tell us about for people that don't know. Could you tell us about the project?
yeah, so I'm working on the persistence package. So in the persistence package, I'm first working on creating an Excel add-in for baselining. So my grant, it covered 2 systems. So one was Excel and the other one was Oracle database. So first I have picked up the Excel add-in, and that's what I'm working on.
So you're baselining a records between an Oracle database and an Excel spreadsheet.
So that
Brilliant.
should what the end sort of like the presentation, the demo that I give, that's what it should look like. But so I'm the plugin that I'm creating that can be used by anyone who wants to start baselining. So not necessarily just the implementation I'm showing, the plugin can be available to anyone.
Cool. On any platform, or just for Excel and Oracle?
So currently the one I'm creating is only for Excel. So it's sort of an add-in inside Excel that you can add and use with your stack that you're currently using for baseline.
Brilliant. Yeah, so that would be awesome. So today you can use, there's a pretty ready way of doing SAP, of baselining Dynamics, Google Spreadsheet, and now after your work is done, also Excel. People forget. I mean, Excel spreadsheets or databases, and you can take a row in a table and baseline it. Although it's probably a little riskier than in say a proper SAP implementation, but you could do it. How are you going to lock out a user? Is there a way of in Excel to control for accidental user tripping over a row or a cell in a row and debasing the record?
So currently the way I'm working with Kyle is that first you have to log in, and then only authorized users then can make changes to the spreadsheet, and then that will get baselined.
Okay, and is there some kind of a call in your plugin that will allow them to like change the color of a row that's been baselined, so that row is baselined with somebody? Is that how it will work?
Yeah, that can also be done. Like you receive a message that this record has been changed, and then using conditional formatting, we can ensure that record, whatever is getting changed, it gets highlighted for the user.
Would you have to have a column designated for the counterparty? And would that in the baseline loop, would that generate that data into that cell, or is there some other way that you would so that when you're looking at it, that like almost a mouse over, that you're baselined with so and so? How would that work?
So you're asking whether by like with the spreadsheet, just by looking at the spreadsheet, are we able to tell whom it is baselined with or not? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that was the thought, right? Like how would I know with whom that particular row has been baselined?
Uh, Usually because so how it's currently working is that there is in the plugin there is a login, and in that login you have to add JWT so that you are then added to a specific work group, and then inside that all these uh, like changes in the sheets are updated and or added or whatever.
Is the
That's
whole
how it's
is the
currently
whole
working.
table going to be part of that work group? And then like row 1 is between you and me, and row 2 is between you and Jack, and row 3 is between you and Boris. So that,
Yeah.
each of the rows have their own scope in terms of who gets to see what's going on, or is it the entire table?
So currently, what my understanding was of that the entire table needed to be baselined with the counterparty's records. That's what my understanding was. But in case if it is only specific columns that need to be baselined, then there are still like it can be more customized in that way that I can create specific bindings with columns and then ensure that only that gets baselined.
Yeah, I think that's really certainly not the whole workflow, but the work step, right? Well, I say a
Yeah.
work step. I can imagine, setting up my Excel spreadsheet to say, here are all of my invoices, and here's an
Mhm.
invoice between you and me, and here's an invoice between me and Jack, and here's an invoice between me and Nick and me, and in that in the table, I don't want a baseline with everybody. I just want each row to be baselined with my counterparty, each row being a representation of a different invoice, until I get
Yeah.
smart and use something like QuickBooks and get off my spreadsheet.
Uh, so if that is the case, then it can be made that way. Actually, I do not have this understanding that like specific records will only be baselined with like specific
Well,
counterparties.
it's your project. I was just that was my I'm I'm just giving you my assumptions. But,
Yeah, it's kind of
So,
interesting. It's kind of interesting
mhm.
that there's two audiences, the enterprise audience and the spreadsheet audience. And the spreadsheet audience is just as valid as the enterprise audience. If we can make, baseline work between spreadsheets, we can do it with anything.
hey, nobody uses spreadsheets more than enterprises, so there's that too. But you're right. Yeah. So
I was just going to say that too, that enterprises still use quite a bit of spreadsheets, and smaller banks especially will pretty much complete a trade in a spreadsheet
oh
or
yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Well, that's a really good point because, maybe the spreadsheet is the bigger audience.
You might be onto something big here, Bishwashri. I mean, the dark matter
Yeah, yeah.
of B2B is conducted in spreadsheets, not on fancy databases.
I mean, often new projects, especially new products in various financial institutions, they start on a spreadsheet, and that could be going on for months, sometimes years, until a real application gets built.
Well, we've seen our friends from Microsoft who are often here, not today, but Kale will tell you that Excel is a database, and
Yeah.
and not a trivial one, like a pretty seriously well built database.
I mean, I started using spreadsheets with merger and acquisition activity in the 80s. So, using spreadsheets to model your business, to forecast, to run different scenarios, that's a normal business, use of spreadsheets. So, especially at the departmental level, they got to get stuff done. And sometimes the only way you can do that is with a spreadsheet.
Yep, right on. I'm asking our viewers viewers on YouTube if the audio is sounding good for them today. I hope it is. Hey, Mohan, how's it going? Good.
Hey, good. Sorry, my microphone was not working, so I had to go through reboot. This is very interesting. I have some questions with respect to Excel on a project that I'm thinking of. So, I can ask it whenever you guys have time.
I think now would be great, unless anybody.
So I think this question was brought up once before, where you had mentioned whether it was Airtable or Excel, you wanted to be able to.
I think we lost him a little. Mohan, we lost you. Just say, can you hear me now? It'll fix everything. Is a secret protocol in the internet. If you just say, see, it worked. Oh, you went offline for a second, Mohan. And I said the magic words. Can you hear me now? And it worked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you have, so on the vendor spreadsheet, would you have basically multiple customers listed? And so when you're talking about baselining, you want to be able to kind of say, okay, here I have a row and it indicates my customer email or whatever. And then so that record is going to be baselined with respect to that particular customer. I mean, what's your thoughts on what the notion of baseline is with respect to, so if you have a spreadsheet, what is the construct of the spreadsheet? Who are the members of the spreadsheet? How, an example of how it might be organized, and then how you want to see baselining happen.
And Bishwashri, you got that?
So currently the understanding that I have is, I think it's very like rudimentary, but it's, what I am seeing is that like one sheet in a workbook corresponds to one particular counterparty. So
right on. Yeah. Like, so what would the use case be behind that, where you'd want a whole table baseline with a counterparty?
You can think of the spreadsheet as a subledger. It's a financial subledger. So, treat it like a database table, treat it like a financial ledger.
Right, but we usually think about, I mean, you can state hash a whole database, that's fine, right? But we usually think about like a row in a table, whether that's a SQL table or something else, right? That row is a record, and that record needs to be baselined, and not the entire SQL database.
Well, you would do that for every transaction that goes into the ledger. So the entire ledger, is subject to those constraints. So
and there may be a case where you'd want to baseline a whole table, John. Like if it's a table of zip code lookups or tax codes or something like that.
That's a great example. Yeah. Okay.
How about a price list for products?
Instead of baselining each price, you'd baseline the entire list. Yep. In fact, we got a call from the government not that long ago, and they're like, "Yeah, we've got all these private-public partnerships, and their catalogs and what we put on our website are not verifiably identical, and it gets us into a lot of trouble." And yeah, I mean, they're like, "Can we baseline that?" And the satisfying answer was, "Yep."
Yeah, when we first started the baseline journey, I went back to my my OOP days and even objects and databases and things like that, right? If you could define the object, you could effectively baseline the whole object, right? Whether it's a contract or not just a row or a cell, if you're talking spreadsheets and databases, but it could be a customer object or who knows what else, frankly.
Yeah. All right. So Bishwashri, stuff to think about. I'm glad you came on the show today, because maybe there's something to think about and all that. But we're pretty excited about seeing the result and having a link to being able to baseline Excel spreadsheets, I think is going to be, I think you may go down in history for that one. That's a good one to be
Is
doing.
there a channel dedicated for just design discussions on the Excel plugin, if you will?
Hey, Bishwashri, throw up a channel on the baseline Slack.
Yeah,
I think that'd be
I will
pretty
do
fun.
that.
Yeah,
That's
get
a
some
good
in.
idea. Thank you.
Great
And
idea.
Mohan,
And
yeah, Mohan, feel free to direct message me.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah.
hey, Boris, maybe you should do that for your project.
Yeah, that's. I think we'll be. I think we'll be ready very soon to do that, because
good
we kind of like we've been doing some work with Sam, better understanding how it's going to all work, but we're getting very close where we're creating circuits. So I'm pretty happy. So we'll definitely consider that.
Why don't you say for our viewing audience what your project is?
So what we're doing, we're looking at creating like financial circuits, and initially we're looking at corporate bonds, just trying to understand and like how that would be done and how that can be basically how it can be baselined. And,
what are your observations today? Like, what have you ascertained so far?
I mean, we are, none of us really, we had, I guess, theoretical understanding of what of ZK snarks and GNARC and zero knowledge proofs. So it is a learning curve, actually, how to create the circuit from scratch and what actually goes into it, and what is public, what is private, and the details like that. So we are. That's something that we are. I mean, there is definitely a learning curve, which is fine. I mean, that's what we expected it.
I'd love to see a tool for just constructing these things. You know, just like human operatable tool that just low codes it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be like very, very important, because I think like an average developer is not going to have the bandwidth to kind of like get into a lot of nitty-gritty details. And Sam is very, very helpful, because NARC is, there are some new things there, and definitely there are new features being released basically on a weekly basis. So we're kind of catching up with that. And
yeah, for folks that are tuning in, NARC is a zero knowledge circuit system that is being built by Consensus, but it's also open source and under Apache 2 license, as I recall. And oops, I'm getting an echo.
Actually, it's a library from Consensus, and it allows you to define the zero knowledge workflow as in two parts. The front end will be the statements that you want to prove without, so you can define the R1CS different types of constraints, and correspondingly, you can also modularize the cryptographic commitments that you want to do. So there are certain kind of trade-offs based upon which cryptographic protocol you use, whether it's on time constraint and other issues. So it's modular in that sense, and production-wise ready because it's on Golang. So yeah, that I wanted to add from my side.
Yeah.
I wonder how, did anybody catch Ernst & Young's event last week? A lot of folks, some folks here were on that. I was impressed with, sorry, somebody's must have the YouTube running because I'm hearing myself. Okay. Yeah, I was impressed with Nick. Remind me of names.
Miranda Wood.
Miranda Wood.
Is it Starlight or
Starlight? Yeah, Ernst & Young Starlight project. I mean, I haven't gotten around that yet. I don't know the details or what the innards are, but I love the idea of being able to just write Solidity and mark a function as secret and have that then be under zero knowledge.
I like that idea. In fact, I wanted to bring up that topic and to see, just get some guidance on where so how does secrets play into what Baseline is doing, sort of what is it that E and Y are doing there, and how does it kind of flow back into Baseline, if at all?
Well, I mean, that's again, I can only speculate because I haven't seen the actual work and we haven't gotten a full briefing on it. It sounds like it's still pretty heavy on chain, which it's funny. Ryan Fish is on. Ryan, maybe you can comment on this. What you and Sam have been working on. That even when you're off chain, you may you still can run into performance issues. You still may have something that's too fat. I think a lot of blockchain folks, we're like, oh, it's off chain. It can be as heavy, oh yeah, it takes a gigabyte per record. Oh, no problem. Right? And of course, that's not true. So, we definitely have need these things to get leaner and leaner. And as I recall, Miranda said that it's still pretty heavy, and some of that is on chain.
And she also mentioned that it was not a full compiler, if I recall correctly. They were not.
It wasn't a full compiler, no.
Not yet, yeah.
But again, I don't know. You have to tell me why I need that, right? Yeah. But it for any given particular use. But I think it's really exciting. And could that be a viable alternative to setting a bunch of stuff up in NARC circuits off? Well, we should see, right? I mean, I think we should take a look at that. Again, that's the nice thing about Baseline's not a platform, right? It's just a technique, and as a technique, can a Starlight approach be compliant with the technique and give you what you need? To that end, Brian, maybe you want to talk a little bit. I think we had a really good Monday where we were doing a design session. And I think there's something in that session that is worthy of communicating with the community. And that is the notion that how little is required if you're on the receiving end of a baseline event.
Sorry, what were the specifics that were?
Yeah, we're talking.
That's what we're trying to figure out. What is the minimum set?
Yeah, and I
so
thought
that it doesn't incur that full payload.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only the payload, of course, is the payload, but how much of the stack you need as a receiver of a baseline record, right? So the sender, yeah, they're going to need to generate whatever appropriate circuit is, zero knowledge filter or whatever you like to call it, is required. But on the receiving end, you need to be able to receive the message. You need to be able to digitally sign it, and you need to be able to send back a DDDSA of the event. And then maybe you want to be able to read the baseline proof on the blockchain so that you can be sure that you are consistent. But if you didn't care, you wouldn't even need that. Right? Say you have a use case where it's only the sender that really, really, really wants to be sure that it's baselined. In that event, all that the receiver needs is the ability to send back an EDDSA, which is kind of normal. And then you're okay. And I have to admit, I had not been fully cognizant of that. And that really, to me, crystallized this difference between having a platform approach and a standards approach, right? That in a platform, you'd say, oh, I've got to buy this whole big platform, or I need Fabric, or I need, pick your platform. In this case, it's like, well, use whatever you like. And as long as you can send me back an EDDSA, receive the record, process it, and send me back the signed event, that may be all you need to do. And you're baselining. That to me, that brings a lot of the sort of two-sided market issue out. It says, okay, I can expect a lot more receivers to have that capability. I don't know. It was an interesting moment for me, Ryan. Thanks for that call. It was a long one, as I recall. I want to say anything else about that?
No, that was the gist of it. Just trying to figure out the minimum requirements to participate without having the full-fledged platform execution.
Right. And we were saying, what was the size of the, even a simple zero knowledge proof off chain? We're talking about, what was it, about a meg, 3 megs?
I think with all the artifacts, the compile outputs were in excess of 4 to 6, which was a simple hash check proof. And
Simple
then
hash
doubling.
check and signature proof, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was linear. So adding 2 checks doubles that space.
Right. So if you had 2 invoices, you're
Yeah,
now into 10
Drew-
megs.
That's right. Drew's answering the in the chat there. The increase is O to the N.
Thanks, Drew. Have I mentioned today how much we love having you on in this community? Drew Malik, everybody, keep an eye on this guy's career. Been adding a lot of value. Appreciate it a lot. Keep it up. Yeah, so 4.5. So that means, yeah, so 9 megs for a couple of invoices. Yes, no?
Yeah, well, for the circuit itself, compiling the circuit would be the 9 for the double-sided hash
Okay.
check.
Did we figure out if we can, but you can't reuse that for a different invoice? Is what, that was what we were fooling around with.
In this case, if it's just checking for the sender, that circuit could be reused. But if you're including any specific details on the invoice itself, then no.
Well, in the
That would have to
hash,
be-
right? So you got 2 different hashes, one for invoice 1 and one for invoice 2.
Yes, the use case we have though is based on the sender's hash, not the invoice hash. That was the context of the original implementation.
I'm not following. So the
It's
sender has
very-
2 different invoices. They send one and then they send
Right,
the
I'm-
other.
The implementation in the BRI2 is currently checking that the sender is valid. It doesn't pertain to the invoice itself.
All right, then I'm lost because I could have sworn we were also checking the payload.
I'll double check. I'm not 100%.
I think we are. Either that or I'm having a really bad senior moment, which is more and more frequent. So yeah, but you would agree that if we had if we were checking the payload, which I'm pretty sure we are, and the identities of both counterparties,
It would be
And that's-
per instance, yes.
yeah, so that would be 9 megs for 2 invoices, 4.5 for 1.
Yes.
And as you said, it scales linearly. So you just keep on adding 4.5, count by 4.5s. So that's not I mean, it's doable, but it's not a non-trivial amount of data to be storing. Jack's nodding his head. So yeah, getting that down would be a pretty nice project. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't mind doing a bounty on that one. Is Jack still on here? Can I see him? Jack Ridley? Oh, I think he's dropped. I was going to ask him about how Base Ledger's going. I'm excited to see that keep going.
Jack Leahy has dropped off.
Left the building.
Jack Garvin is still here though.
Hey Jack, how's Base Ledger going? I'm kidding. Yeah, we'll have to find out next week about how that's going. I've heard good things. What else would you guys like to talk about? Samrat, you're going to start doing the baseline show, right? In India. We do have to get some music.
Oh, sure. So if you want, I can get a track done here. Happy to do that. Get an Indian flavor to it.
Hey, you know what? I tell you
And-
what, I love offloading work. Happy to bounty it. Happy to set up a grant for somebody to make the baseline song. It's got to be better than this.
Interesting.
It's got to be better than that.
Sure. So I'm going to do that right away. I'm just going to initiate the contract. So through my company, I have a partner who does content design and the whole user experience, so they can do the music as well.
I'd have a hard time thinking that the TSC would not vote to to spend some money of the grant. And I think it's perfectly, it definitely is, by my read of the rules, it's right down the middle of the rules. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Sure.
you want it, make it, we can all use it, right? But I'd love to get it for that.
Sure. So I can, yeah, I can just put in a bounty application for that. Oh, sorry, a grant application for that. And then, yeah, I can start the Indian version of the baseline show right away. Once we have, some enablements. So I think the biggest enablement is having a regular show of hands from the big partners that you have made in India, that we've already got from India. So I think the big names are already on, but we just need to mobilize them.
Yeah,
So that
our friends
mobilization, I
from
can,
Tatat from TCS
yeah,
you've already been connected to them, right? There's
yeah,
two,
yeah.
there's two women that are engineering folks at TCS. I think you guys are already in a channel, right?
I guess so. So I will have to look
Could've
through,
sworn- yeah, yeah,
through very old messages. So if at all it is handy, please just send over.
yeah. We'll just redo that.
Yeah. So Bishwashri and I can take over that part and do it sometime, which is good timing in India. Sometime when people can grab a beer, just chill and look at baseline processes. Baseline processes.
Samrat,
I think we've got.
I for one will pledge to make it onto your show at least once, maybe twice. And
Oh.
we'll get Wolpert there too.
Oh yeah,
I'll,
for
I'll
sure.
Sure.
join the show, Samrat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have the
absolutely.
first two speakers then.
Yeah, well, we could get some celebrity or actual celebrity speakers for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Especially the
Hey,
night
John?
owls.
Scarlett Johansson. I'll be right on that one.
Joe Lubin, I'm sure
Hmm.
would. Yeah, he doesn't sleep. I think he can.
Oh yeah, Joe was quite a star. I remember attending one of his events when he was in India back in I think a couple of years back he was here. There was I think 5,000 people gathered to watch him.
Wow. All right, that's almost more than Kyle. Kyle's becoming a star. Yeah, so very excited to see that happen. I think that like we were saying earlier, in this industry, where India goes, the rest of us go, right? That's if you look up any how-to videos about SAP, there's an Indian guy explaining it to you.
Yeah, true.
An
That.
Indian guy
true
in
that.
India, not just like a guy from India, but like an Indian leadership. So yeah.
Yeah, Samrat's helping me with a Native American client. So it's Indians helping Indians.
Well, by name.
Yeah,
Yes.
the other kind of Indians, yeah.
Yep. Humans helping humans. So that's great.
Yeah, true.
Oh, so many humans. So what else have we got going on here? We've been talking about, and this is actually our last show before. Do we have another Wednesday before June? I don't think so. Yeah, this is it. So this is our last conversation about, before we're going to really try to lock in June on version 1. So I have some work to do on getting everybody, getting the TCS engaged, and we'll talk to Sam about really wrangling the core developers. Ryan, all the developers you're bringing on from your team, we should get them locked and loaded and ready to decide on the design, on the requirements for V1, so that we can, by the time the standard is promulgated at the end of the year, V1 has been released as well. I think we've done tremendous work as a community on having the discussion about what needs to be in, what doesn't need to be in. I need to call out Andreas Freund for just being enormously involved, and of course the respective chairs of the committees as well in terms of coordinating. But I mean, in terms of just sheer volume of writing and winnowing down and adding to and then cutting out, and really driven that. I think we all owe Andreas Freund some thanks for his work. Not to diminish anyone else's work. Everybody's been doing great work here. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot from him lately, and we're very grateful. What else? I mean, I guess we got 15 minutes left. What are any last words on what needs to go in, or have you thought of anything else that really needs to be supported in the protocol for V1?
I have a question, John. In terms of tokenizing on Ethereum and the gas costs and so on, I know you can manage the proofs on baseline, and you don't necessarily have to tokenize. But is there benefit into considering other protocols like XDAI, DAI network, where I think the costs are lower? Is there value to thinking about interoperability into other sort of chains?
I think that the question is, what are your intentions, right? I mean, if you don't have to put it on anything in particular. If we're talking about bagging up baseline proofs so that you can have that common frame of reference, then where that bag sits and whether or not you're using a bunch of different bags, not to use what I guess hodlers call bags, but you've got a bunch of proofs on a Merkle tree, or on a bunch of Merkle trees somewhere. You it seems to me that you want to be able to index and anchor and have discoverability on all of them, right? So this isn't like DIDS, where you can put a well-known path on your web server or a file on your web server and then crawl and be able to do DIDS that way, or irrespective of platform. You're going to want to be able to go and find the proof. And so L2s are a good pattern for that, because you're still anchoring down to the mainnet. And as long as we all agree on what the mainnet is, at some point you got to decide who's going to be the last word on the final route. Where's that final route going? You can do a lot of intermediate stuff on any number of state machines, but you got to have that final route on something. And I think that's kind of where, as I understand it today, that's where Base Ledger is hopefully going, right? Where it might be an L2 or a sidechain type structure, but it's anchoring to the mainnet. Right? That's vastly reducing the costs, but it's giving, and as long as everybody's popularly happy to use that particular platform, that's great, as long as it's very well decentralized and isn't something that's likely to get taken over or lock you out, right? What is the mantra for what a mainnet ought to be? It needs to be a state machine maintained as a public good, that it resists tampering, and it maximally resists tampering or being taken over by somebody that can lock you out of valid operations or change the established record, which is another way of saying tampering, right? So that, it's got to have that. And if you confer it from the Ethereum mainnet, then you're an L2 and you're good. But discoverability, if you start siphoning that off into a bunch of different places, you're getting back to discoverability, and you've got balkanization again, which is, there's one thing that baselining is designed to avoid, it's balkanization. We already have balkanization, right? You don't need any of this stuff for that. If you want to go balkanize, go full MQ series, and you're all set. You want to pay somebody to set up something every time, then great.
Okay, thanks.
What else, Bishwashri, are you seeing anything in your work that needs thinking about in terms of V1 that would make it easier for you? Boris, same question for you. Any functions that we're missing? Any things you've been saying, oh, I really wish it would do that, or I really wish I had this check or this control or this at the core, right? The implementation, we're just talking about the core interfaces.
I can't think of anything immediately, but I will definitely provide some feedback.
Great. Yeah, I got a few more days.
Mm, Same from me. Like currently, I haven't thought of anything, but if I think of anything, I'll let you guys know.
All right. Hey, as Samrat, if you want to practice doing the baseline show, when you're ready, you can take over for my slot for one of these shows.
Sure, why not?
No, I'm kidding. Well, no, actually, I'm not.
I'll just do it for 5 minutes and try to trick you.
Well, no, you have to set it up. You gotta, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Sure.
Anything else, friends? Bob, it's good to see you. Any announcements?
I don't have an announcement. I do have a weird request. Is there anybody on the call that is involved with the eSwiss government project, the Swiss e-government project?
May have some contacts within the mesh. Our parent company is a Swiss AG out of Zug, and we've done a number of projects with them around identity and things like that, but I'd have to check specifically on the eSwiss. Ping me, Jack.
Thanks.
Same here. I have worked with some companies which implement HSM solutions for banks in Swiss. So they use eSwiss as a kind of exchange mechanism for their certificates for validation. So yeah, I might also try from my side if possible, find somebody.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think this concludes our. Oh, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Who saw the eclipse last night? None of you East Coasters. Anyway, I got up at 4 a.m. to see it because you could see it from the West Coast. Yeah, I'm sure you saw it, Samrat. Yeah.
I'm watching it on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. YouTube. All right. Anyway, sorry, John. Just a sidebar. Social hour.
Hey, Bob, did you want to say something there? I saw your hand up.
No, I was just giving you a thumbs up on another good meeting. And we didn't talk about, is it Tom that's doing the documentation?
Tom's doing a bunch of not documentation, but content work for
Right.
marketing and comms, I guess.
Right. So I spoke to him and good conversation. So that continues. I think that's a necessary, like you were saying before, what's the use case? You need to talk these things out beyond just the technical, right?
Yeah. In fact, today I was on a call with a media advertising company, and I have to say, it wasn't my best call because I went very technical very quickly,
Right.
and yeah, I've done better at that, but yeah, just making the case. I suppose I've gone very much the other way. I'm so sick of value-based marketing, right? Oh, it's good for you because it's good, right? I'm like, tell me what it does. So I tend to major on what it does and how it does it. And yeah, some audience, some groups just need to understand the business case. So I'm really
Right.
glad that folks are working on that.
Right.
John, kids, get off my lawn, Wolpert.
Hey,
Hey,
kids, get off my lawn.
Just a quick reminder, if you're in the go-to-market team, thanks, Bob, for reminding me. Tom did deliver both a framework for content as well as some kind of beginning boilerplate. And we committed on our call this week to kind of review that and give him feedback. So just a reminder, if you haven't done that, frankly, it's a reminder for myself. I started it, but I haven't finished it. So
Is it on the Slack channel?
it's in the go-to-market Slack channel.
Okay, I'll take a
Yep.
look at it.
If you need access, just ping us. Happy to have more hands.
Mhm.
All right. Well, as I said, almost said before, this is our last sort of, we've been using for this month, the baseline show to discuss requirements and issues for V1. The intention is in June for us to have finished the specification for V1, lock it down both on the standard side and on the core interfaces side, and then move to final implementation and promulgation of the standard. I think that'll be a really good day. That's the goal for this year. And the goal for the summer is to have all that locked in so we can get work done. And so, Jack, your team, Ryan, his team, and all the other teams that are working on Provide, and everybody else that's working on the protocol. Time to start our engines, wrap up all the conversations, and get that final set of requirements done. And with that, everybody have a great week. We'll see you next week, and keep on baselining.
Thank you.
Baseline.